friends! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ingrid and this is Ingrid Reads a Lot. In today's video, I'm going to go over all the books I read in July with you. I have 10 books to talk about and 2 of those are DNFs. I'm going to talk about the books in order of least favorite to most favorite. I think that's all the disclaimers I had to give, so let's get started. Okay, let's talk about the 2 DNFs first. I am looking down because I have to see. First book we're going to talk about is Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black. This is one of her backlist books and it's something that I've always been kind of curious about. I like vampire stories and it was something that I've always wanted to kind of pick up and I never did. I just recently obtained Libby through my library and I was looking at their catalog to see what they had. I don't know if this is the product of its time, but I just could not get into this book. The main character was very much a pick-me girl. The world is set in a place where vampires are sort of out of the coffin, like True Blood, but they have like a town that they live in and it's called Cold Town. And our main character wakes up in the middle of like a massacre and she meets a vampire and one of her ex-boyfriends is also being transitioned into like a vampire and she decides to help them. But you find out that this boyfriend was just super to her and she was just like, oh, I don't care, that's who he is, I'm just adapting. And I thought to myself, like, what am I reading? Like, this guy is such, let's beep that. I just couldn't get into it. I just could not get into it, so I DNF'd this. The next book I DNF'd is something that I think a lot of people disagree because I, first of all, I had never heard of these books, but I was doing some research for a new book tag that I wanted to do, and I'm either gonna film this before or after, I'm not sure. Well, I don't know when you guys are gonna see it. It's called Addicted to You by, who's this? Richie, something Richie? Krista and Becca Ritchie, and it's a romance series. And as you'll see, I read a lot of mystery slash horror, so I just wanted something in between that was just more fluffy, and that's why I wanted to read a romance. And I picked this one up specifically because I wanted to do a tag in which a lot of the people that I saw doing this tag mentioned this book series, and I'm just sitting there like, I pretty much have heard of most big series, and I was surprised that this was mentioned and I had never heard of it before. And it's sort of an older book. I believe it came out in 2016. But Addicted to You is between, it's a romance between these two people that have addictions. One of them is addicted to sex and the other one is addicted to alcohol. They kind of have this toxic relationship where they kind of help each other hide these addictions from their families. They're sort of best friends, but they're not together. And I just thought this book was so bad. I don't know. I feel bad saying this because a lot of people like it, but I could not get past the terrible depiction of addiction that we get in this book. And I get it. I get it. You don't have to tell me. I read a lot of dark romance where I'm able to suspend my disbelief into thinking, oh, this is just a romance, it's not real life. But I have a limit, and this book crossed my limit, and I just could not get into it. I thought that these characters needed therapy and not each other, and I just think that it's terrible. And it's, I think there's like 4 books, 5 books in the series. I think there's a ton of books, but the first 4 or 5 books is the story of these characters. Don't quote me because I'm not 100% sure, but so that's why I DNF'd this book too, and I feel bad because from what I saw, a ton of people like this. But you know what? I don't, and what are you gonna do? All right, and then let's go up to the book that I gave a 2.5 stars to, and that is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. This is a mystery novel. It's a closed circle mystery about Ernie, who goes to a resort with his family. It's like a ski resort. Someone shows up dead, and Ernie believes that someone in his family killed this person. And you're following Ernie while he's trying to solve this mystery. And something about Ernie is that he is a writer. He's written a couple books about how to write mystery, and so you're in Ernie's head as he's being super cheeky, being like, oh, I'm not gonna do this to you, I'm gonna be honest about this and I'm gonna be honest about that, like certain things are in page so and so. And so it feels kind of fun where you're inside Ernie's head even though you know someone died, but he just is being funny and cheeky, and I think this book didn't work for me because I just don't care about the setup of a mystery. I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't care about the construction of a mystery. And I think this book would be perfect for people that love sort of like Agatha Christie, where it's very much you appreciate how a mystery should be and how it's written. The mystery aspect of this was very slow, and you don't get into the story, or at least I didn't get into the story until the end, where you're sort of finding out all of the mysteries. I discovered about myself while reading this book that I am very much here for the thrill. So I don't think I love mystery books that are strictly mystery. I think I like mystery thrillers where there is sort of the suspense building, and at the end of the book you figure out what's going on. This is very strictly a mystery, and I didn't care about any of the characters. Ernie was sort of annoying, and yeah, so I didn't enjoy this. I gave it a 2.5 stars, and I feel bad because I really thought I was gonna like this, hence why I bought it, but what are you gonna do? All right, and then next up, two books that I gave 4 stars to. So I think from here on out, it's 4.5, 4.5, and 5 star books. I think I only have one 5 star. But 4 star books, I gave 4 stars to One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I did a whole sort of like vloggy type video on giving authors a second chance. And that was one of the books. So if you want more in-depth thoughts about this book, then definitely go check out that video. I'll link it up in the cards. But basically, I'm sure you have heard about this book. If not, it's about a woman that she's married, and you find out very early on in the book, so it's not a spoiler, that her husband has died 2 years later after she thought he was dead because he was like lost at sea. She's already moving on. She's engaged to someone else, and her husband comes back. And so you're with this woman trying to figure out what the heck is she gonna do, because it's not like a bad relationship where she got out of the relationship because she wasn't happy. Her husband just passed away. And so I thought that this was very much read like a soap opera where you wanted to see what was going to happen. I liked the setting of this book. This book is set in Massachusetts, so I think I'm sort of biased, but I really enjoyed where this book was set. It felt like a small town, Massachusetts. Well, the author is from Massachusetts, so it was really well done. I just really enjoyed it. I only gave it a 5 stars because you can see this is one of Taylor Jenkins Reid's backlists, and you can see that this is not her best writing. I think where she really shined for me was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. That's where we're at. I think this came out in 2016, so I gave this one a 4 stars. If you're curious, I recommend it. I thought it was a good read. Another 4 stars is a romance, and it's called Unfortunately Yours by Tessa Bailey. I read this on Kindle, and I wanted to read this to break up sort of the horror and mystery thrillers I was reading. This is a very fun romance. It's a marriage of convenience romance, grumpy sunshine, between an heiress of the Napa Valley like wine country and a ex-military guy. I think I forget which branch of the military, but they sort of get married because she's not allowed to get her family money until she's married. It was one of the clauses that her dad added on. Our male main character has built up a winery from scratch, like he wants to make wine to honor one of his friends that he lost during the war, but he knows nothing about wine, and he sort of just keeps failing. And she tells him that she can help because she knows everything about the wine business since it's like her family legacy. And that's why they get married. And it's really cute, funny. I really enjoyed it. It served exactly what I wanted to break up that like mystery horror groove that I was in. But yeah, this was fun. It's a little bit steamy, not terribly. Oh, I lied. I skipped the 4 stars, but there is a 3.5 stars that I didn't talk to you guys about, and that is Silver Nitrate by Sylvia Morena Garcia. This is a horror novel about a haunted film in a Nazi cult. Our main characters are in the film industry during the 90s, I believe. Yeah, early 90s. This is set in Mexico City. Montserrat is a sound editor, and Tristan, her friend, is a actor, and they get involved with this film that was filmed I think in the 50s, but they never finished the spell, and they sort of get into this whole thing, and it turns into a horror. I gave this a 3.5 stars. It's also part of that video I talked to you guys about where I gave authors a second chance. And I think that made me realize that Sylvia Moreno Garcia is not for me, because the premise of this book in on paper is everything I love about horror, but it just did not work. The first quarter of this book, I wanted to DNF the entire time. After this, like, you get to part two is where things start to get going, but I still felt like this fell flat for me. One of the reasons why I gave it a full, almost 4 stars is the film aspect. I think Montserrat really digs into this whole like 1950s era of film, especially in Mexico, where there's some differences between what was happening in Mexico and the United States. So she can really see all that. And I did see a video where Sylvia Moreno Garcia talks about that, and I liked the book more because of that, but not because of the book, if that makes sense. Like, the way Sylvia Moreno Garcia talks about these films in horror movies during the 50s that were done in Mexico is the reason why I enjoyed this more, but not the book itself. I think it definitely fell flat. I talked more in depth in my other video, so if you're curious, I would go check that out because there is a spoilery part that I talk about in that video. But yeah, 3.5 stars. I think me and this author are just done because I try. This is like my third book by her, and I just cannot. It just doesn't ever want me. I have never had a 5-star read from her, which is upsetting because I want to. I like, all her premises are interesting and it just doesn't work. All right, sorry I skipped around, but now we're gonna go to 4.5 stars, and I have 3 4.5 stars. First up, I have let's talk about the 2 YA fantasy books first, and then we'll talk about the fiction. I read Defy the... Oh, let's get away from this sun. Sorry about this lighting, guys. Defy the Night by... Who's this by? Bridget Kemmerer. This is a YA fantasy. This is set in the kingdom of Kandala, where there is a plague going on, and the people in this kingdom don't know what is the cause of the plague. They just know that they found out that the moonflower petal is the cure, or it's not really a cure, but it's a treatment for this plague that is going on. Our main character, Tessa, is sort of an outlaw because she helps the people that don't have money to buy this moonflower petal. And she's also an apothecary where she makes the medicine for them, like the tea that they have to drink. And her and her friend Wes distribute this tea to everybody that can't afford to buy it. And as you may imagine, the people that are rich are trying to stay rich by capitalizing on this, and the poor people aren't able to get their hands on it. You get the point of view of Tessa, and you also get the point of view of the prince of this kingdom and how he's dealing with everything, him and his brother being the king, and their parents were assassinated, and so they're very much closed off to everyone else. It's kind of just the two of them together. I absolutely enjoyed this book, and I was not thinking... I picked this up because I'm trying to get down on my physical TBR. I was not thinking I was gonna love this as much as I did. For a YA fantasy, I thought that the politics in this were amazing. Most of the characters are sort of like gray characters. There's no one good guy, bad guy kind of thing. And you sort of see everything from everyone's point of view. And I really love this. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna read the next one, and I hope that it does not disappoint. I'm gonna go close that blind because I feel like it's gonna help with this lighting. Please hold. Okay, next 4.5 stars is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. This is another YA fantasy. This is about our main character, Bree. Her mom has recently passed, and she has just gotten into the early program for the college that she's going to. This is almost like paranormal fantasy because it is set in our world. What was I gonna say? She has recently got into the gifted program at UNC Chapel Hill, where her mother also attended, and during her mom's accident where she first gets the news, she feels like something weird happened where she lost her memories. And when she gets to UNC Chapel Hill, the same thing happens, and she sees sort of like magic. And so she feels like those two things are related. You follow Bree as she's trying to figure out this world. You meet a bunch of different characters. There is sort of a minor love triangle in this, and I'm hesitant to say love triangle because one of the other characters is not really a love interest. Like, the author kind of sprinkles in that kind of like interest towards the main character, but I feel like it's not very much on the page. She is in a relationship with one of the characters. His name is Nick, And I forgot to say, but this novel is based on the legend of King Arthur, and it's like a modern take on this. This was another surprise to me. Oops, I just hit myself in the face with the book. This was another surprise to me because I didn't think I was gonna like it as much as I did. Just the fact that like King Arthur just didn't interest me. Like the King Arthur myth. I bought this because one, it was the book of the month book, and two, a ton of people were raving about this, and I'm like, it has to be good because so many people liked it. And I was right. It's really good. I definitely want to read the second book, but I'm almost hesitant to pick it up because the third book's not out yet, and I know I'm going to want to read the third book. So I don't know if I'm going to pick it up soon or if I'm going to wait for the third book to be released so that I can read everything all at once, because that's just who I am. All right, and then two more books to talk about because we are getting to the 30-minute mark. Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I was pleasantly surprised by this, and I'm sure you have heard about this. This is all over the place. Everybody in this book sucks. But it was interesting. Like, it's one of those things that you couldn't stop reading because it was such car wreck. The main character in this book is frenemies with an Asian author that she went to school with. She's jealous of this friend of hers because she has had great success, and our main character, who is white, has not. And she feels that it's because her friend, and I say friend in quotes because they're not friends, because she's Asian. And the main character sort of bitter about this, but they still see each other. In one of those occasions, the friend dies, and our main character decides to steal her manuscript of a book that she's about to not publish because it still had to be edited, but a manuscript nonetheless. And when the person dies, she decides to rewrite it and sell it as her own. And this book has a lot of heavy topics that it talks about, but it doesn't talk about those topics in depth at all. So it's kind of just lays everything out for you, and you decide what is what. I am conflicted about this book. I honestly didn't know what rating to give it because after I finished this, I decided to watch a ton of people review this, and a lot of people enjoyed it like I did, and a lot of people felt that this was not thorough enough. Where it does mention certain heavy topics, it never talks about those topics in depth or give any solution to any of these topics. Cultural appropriation and the publishing industry and how crappy it is. It talks about poverty, right? Because even the Asian writer is someone that grew up very rich and going to these colleges that your average person could never pay to go. It talks about all those things, but never in depth. It just lays it out there, and you do with it as you please. This was just sort of a train wreck. Everyone sucks. Even the character that dies, you find out that she was sort of crappy to other people, but I enjoyed this. Ultimately, my rating is based on my enjoyment of books. R.F. Kuang can write. It doesn't matter that the topics in this weren't well done. Her writing style is just amazing. It's an easy read. I feel like out of both of the books that I've read by her, one is the fantasy, the Poppy War, and this is so much more digestible and easy to read. It's just a train wreck, and who doesn't like watching a train wreck, you know? So 4.5 stars. Okay, and then last but certainly not least, I give you my 5-star of the month, which is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This is also part of that video I did where I gave authors a second chance, and this did not disappoint. I will tell you. This is a psychological thriller about our main character named Kit and Lenore Hope. Kit is a home health aide, and she has to go take care of the Lenore Hope, who is in her 80s, and she lives in this house on top of the mountains near the sea. And Lenore was accused of killing her entire family in 1920s, but never proven to have killed them because she was never arrested. Lenore has had a stroke in her life, so she's not able to talk or move. The only thing she can move is her left hand. And when Kit goes to take care of Lenora, she sees a typewriter, and Lenora shows her that she's able to type. And so she tells Kit that she's gonna tell her her entire story and what happened on that night. This is actually set in the 90s, I believe, in the early 90s. And the crazy thing that happened was in 1929. So you kind of go back and forth. And I sort of really love this. I thought that this was one of the best books that Riley Sager has written, that I've read anyway. I think I've read, actually no, the last two books he published I did not read. I was gonna say I think I've read most of his books, but no, I didn't read the last two. am interested in The House Across the Lake, but we'll see. The other one, I'm not gonna read Survive the Night. I think everybody hated that book, so I'm not reading that one. But I was really curious about the premise of this, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 5 stars. I think it's one of those thrillers that you cannot help but keep reading because you want to know what happens. In Riley Sager fashion, this has a ton of twists at the end, and some might say too many twists, but I want all the twists. So this worked for me. It might not work for you, but that's it. I think I have already given you guys all the books I read in the month of July. If you've read any of these books, let me know. Are you curious about anything? Leave me some comments down below and we can chat, and I will see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.